the red-headed man in custody through a one-way mirror and swore she'd never seen him before. For a few years, I'd persisted in believing he was my dad. When we left Utah after his arrest, to live for a few months in an artist's retreat outside of Tempe, I worried he wouldn't be able to find me again. He never did. By the time I turned 9, I'd recognized my secret belief for what it was, a child's fantasy. I folded it away like I did all the things I didn't need. Old toys, bedtime superstitions, clothes that didn't fit. My mom and I lived like vagrants, staying with friends till our welcome wore through at the elbows, perching in precarious places, then moving on. We didn't have the luxury of being nostalgic. We didn't have a chance to stand still. Until the year I turned 17, and Althea died in the Hazel Wood. When my mother Ella got the letter, a violent shudder ran through her. That was before she opened it. The envelope was creamy green, printed with her name and the address of the place we were staying. We'd arrived the night before, and I wondered how it found us. She pulled an ivory letter opener from the table beside her, because we were house-sitting for the kind of people who kept bits of murdered elephants around for show. With shaking hands, she slit the envelope jaggedly through its middle. Her nail polish was so red it looked like she'd cut herself. As she shook it out, the letter caught the light, so I could see blocks of black text through the back, but couldn't read them. Ella made a sound I didn't recognize, a gasp of complicated pain that cut my breath off clean. She held the paper so close to her face, it colored her skin a faint celery green, her mouth moving as she read it through again. Then she crumpled the letter up and tossed it into the trash. We weren't supposed to smoke inside that place, a cramped apartment on New York's Upper West Side that smelled like expensive French soap and wet Yorkies. But Ella pulled out a cigarette anyway and lit it off an antique crystal lighter. She sucked in smoke like it was a milkshake, tapping the fingers of one hand against the heavy green stone she wore at the pulse of her throat. "My mother's dead," she said on an exhale, then coughed. The news hit me like a depth charge, a knot of pain in my stomach that kept expanding. But it'd been a long time since I'd spent my hours dreaming of Althea. The news shouldn't have hurt me at all. Ella squatted down in front of me, put her hands on my knees. Her eyes were shiny, but dry. "This isn't... Forgive me. But this isn't a bad thing. It's not. It could change things for us. It could..." Her voice cracked in half before she could finish. She put her head down on my knees and sobbed once. It was a desolate sound that belonged somewhere else, out there with dark roads and dead leaf smells, not in this bright room in the middle of a loud, bright city. When I kissed the crown of her hair, it smelled like diner coffee and the smoke twining up from her cigarette. She breathed in, out, and turned her face up to look at me. "Do you know what this means for us?" I stared at her, then around at the room we were sitting in, rich and stuffy and somebody else's. "Wait, does it mean we get the Hazelwood?" My grandmother's estate, which I'd only seen in photos, felt like a place I remembered from some alternate imaginary childhood, one where I rode horses and went to summer camp. It was the daydream I disappeared into when I needed a break from the endless cycle of highways and new schools and the smell of unfamiliar houses. I'd paced myself into its distant world of fountains and hedges, highballs, and a pool so glittering bright you had to squint against it. But my mother's bony hand was around my wrist.